The house itself wasn't the problem. It was the coach house across from it. Old, brick, and too quiet. It had stables below, bedrooms above, and every window faced ours like it was watching. Everyone always said the main house had a friendly spirit, but whatever was in the coach house wasn't friendly. It felt wrong. Our dog refused to go near it. He'd growl low and back away if we so much as turned in that direction. My sister and I didn't listen. We used to sneak in, bring sandwiches, and hang out in the upstairs bedroom, but we never stayed long. There was always this pressure, like we weren't supposed to be there, like someone was just out of sight, watching. One day the feeling hit hard. We packed up to leave, but as we reached the door, it slammed shut behind us. We tried the knob. It wouldn't move, not even a little. It was ice cold, literally frozen. Our hands stuck to it. I remember screaming. After what felt like forever, it just released. No sound, no draft, just opened like it was never stuck at all. We never went back, but my mum didn't believe us. During a family reunion, she let one of our cousins sleep in that room. She left in the middle of the night, pale and shaking. Said the bed had been bouncing, not creaking or shifting, jumping. She said it felt like the floor itself was trying to throw her off. When we sold the house, the new owners never touched the coach house. I visited a year later, curtains still drawn, dust covering the windows. Everything we'd left behind, books, boxes, tools, still untouched in the workshop. I offered to go in and grab some of it. The new owners just stared at me and said, "Don't. No one ever goes in there." And whatever's still inside never had to come out. It's been years, and sometimes I still dream about that door slamming, about that frozen knob, about something waiting just behind it, listening. This happened to my old roommate. He was dating a girl for a few months and spent a lot of nights at her place. It wasn't long before he started saying something felt wrong about the house. I thought he was joking at first. He always had weird dreams, but he started acting different. He told me that, at her place, even on a good night, he'd have messed up dreams. They weren't just nightmares, they were vivid and left him feeling sick in the morning. Some nights, he'd wake up feeling like he couldn't move, like something was pushing down on his chest. One night, he said he opened his eyes and saw someone, or something, standing at the foot of the bed, just watching. He said it looked like a person, but darker than shadow, too dark to be real. It didn't move, but he felt it. He said it was like it was draining him, pulling something out through the soles of his feet. The next morning, he looked pale and couldn't stop shaking, said it felt like he hadn't slept at all, even though he hadn't moved once all night. Another time, he saw it again, same spot, end of the bed. This time, he tried to roll over and ignore it, but the second he turned his head, he felt hot breath against his ear and heard a voice, low and angry, say, "Get out." Then his whole body froze. He couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't even blink. He was stuck like that for what felt like hours. When he finally came out of it, she was still sleeping next to him, like nothing had happened. He didn't tell her. He started getting sick more often, random fevers, headaches that lasted all day. He said being at her house made him feel like he was going crazy. Eventually, he stopped going over altogether. Said he just couldn't take it anymore. He swears something was in that house. Said it felt like the place didn't want him there, like it was watching. Last I asked, he still has dreams about that bedroom. Says he wakes up feeling cold from the feet up, like something's still trying to pull him back. Back in high school, a group of us used to go ghost hunting around Seattle, mostly just abandoned buildings or creepy woods. One place stuck with me. It's called the 13 Steps to Hell. Supposedly, a satanic family built these stone steps in their backyard, leading down to a private cemetery. People say each step down gives you hallucinations. By the time you reach the last step, you're supposed to see fire, The steps are always being bulldozed, but they come back. I've seen them with my own eyes. The first time we went looking for them, it took hours. There were no real directions online, just vague forum posts and whispers. After 4 hours of driving and hiking through overgrown trails, we were ready to give up. Then we found a narrow path hidden behind a rusted gate. About a mile in, the woods started to change. There were wrecked cars, shattered windows, broken furniture half buried in the dirt. It didn't feel abandoned. It felt discarded, like someone wanted to forget it existed. We were about to head back when my friend stopped and pointed at me. "Dude, look where you're standing." I looked down. I was between 2 stone pillars, 1 foot resting on the first of 13 moss-covered steps. I hadn't noticed them. They were just there. I refused to go down the steps, but we checked out the cemetery. My friends wandered further in, maybe 200 feet. Then the yelling started, screaming. They ran back pale and breathless, saying we needed to leave. I asked what happened. They wouldn't say, just told me never to bring it up again. I went back a few more times with other people. Nothing strange happened. No fire, no voices. Just a cold, quiet graveyard surrounded by trees that seemed too tall. A year later, some new friends begged me to take them. We went at midnight. It was colder than usual. We hiked the trail, got to the cemetery, looked normal. I showed them the steps, pointed out the gravestones. We found one with a weird symbol on it, like a pentagram carved with a blade. We stood around debating if we should stay when a log, about 3 feet long, came flying out of the woods, landed right in the middle of our group. None of us had moved. Everyone was accounted for. Then another log, then rocks, branches. One slammed into my arm. Someone screamed. I said, "Run." We tore back down the trail, tripping, slamming into trees, crawling under fallen branches. Things kept flying at us, like the forest was alive and angry. Behind us, something was growling, loud, fast. I didn't look back. I couldn't. At one point, my friend did. He screamed, "Eyes!" There's eyes. Yellow ones, low to the ground, just behind us. We didn't talk. We didn't stop. We slammed into the car and drove away with bloody hands and shredded clothes. No one said a word the whole ride back. We never went again. But last month, I had a dream. I was standing at the top of those steps. Something was whispering from below. I couldn't move. And when I looked down, there weren't 13 steps anymore. There were 14. My dad worked maintenance at a mental hospital in the early 90s. The place had been around forever. One of the older wings used to be connected to a nun's residence. It was abandoned by then, but the underground hallway that linked the 2 buildings was still there. It ran under a courtyard and was used mostly for storage. He didn't like that tunnel. Said it always smelled like mildew and old bleach. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, but some flickered constantly. On certain nights you'd walk 20 feet and the rest of the hall would stay dark no matter how many switches you hit. He told me this story once, and only once. He said it happened during a night shift. He needed to grab a cart of linens from storage near the nun's end of the passage. He had a flashlight because half the lights were dead. As he was walking, he saw someone ahead, kneeling by the wall. A woman in a long black habit. Head bowed, hands folded. She was whispering something. Not crying, just steady murmuring, like a prayer on loop. Thinking it was someone playing a prank or maybe an old patient who had wandered down, he said, "Hello?" Nothing. She didn't move. He said it louder. Still nothing. He walked past her, just a few feet away. She didn't even glance at him, just kept whispering. He told himself she was real, a lost nurse maybe, or someone from the group home that shared the grounds back then. But the closer he got to the door at the end of the hall, the colder it felt, like standing in front of an open freezer. When he turned to look back, she was gone. The tunnel was completely empty. No footsteps, no sound, No exit door creak. He didn't run, but he didn't go back down that hallway for weeks. The linen cart stayed down there until someone else brought it up. He told me the air still felt cold in that spot, even days later. He swears he doesn't believe in ghosts, always said people imagine things when they're tired, but when he told me the story, he kept rubbing the back of his neck like it still itched. And he never said her face, just that she was praying, only that, and that she didn't stop. I grew up in Washington and had heard the stories about Maltby Cemetery. Everyone called it the Way to Hell. It was supposed to be this hidden staircase buried deep in the graveyard, 13 stone steps that led underground. According to local legend, if you went down all 13, you'd go insane. People said you'd see hell, not a metaphor, actual hell. A few kids swore they found it and saw something at the bottom, something that never left their heads. Most never talked about it again. They bulldozed the steps years ago, at least that's what people say. But the stories didn't stop. Kids would sneak into the cemetery at night, digging with shovels, trying to find them. People said the stairs had a way of coming back. My girlfriend and I weren't looking to dig. We just wanted to see if the stories were true, if we could find them. We went with 3 others, all of us packed into my friend Nate's car, parked just off the gravel road. We waited until just after midnight. The place was dead quiet, colder than it should have been. We walked in through the back woods. No one said much. After maybe 40 minutes, we found a strange patch of ground, overgrown. But in the center, 2 thin stone pillars stood, leaning like broken teeth. Between them, the soil dipped slightly. We pushed back the brush, and there they were, wide, cracked, moss-covered steps descending into darkness. We shined our flashlights, but the beam wouldn't reach the bottom. It was like it just swallowed the light. I told the others I was going down. My girlfriend begged me not to. One of the other girls started crying. Nate laughed it off, but didn't come closer. I stepped between the pillars. The moment I touched the first step, everything went silent. I couldn't hear the wind, the crickets, nothing. I kept going. Step 2, 3. My stomach twisted. It felt like the air was thick, pressing on my chest. On the 5th step, I felt cold, so cold it hurt. I could see my breath. By the 7th step, the flashlight cut out. I tried to yell up, but my voice sounded muffled, like I was underwater. I turned around. They weren't there. The steps above me had vanished into black. I couldn't even see the pillars anymore. I wanted to run back up, but I felt something at my back. Not touching me, not yet, but close. I took one more step. The screaming started. Not mine. Voices, dozens of them. Screaming, whispering, some chanting things I didn't understand. A loud bang hit behind me, like something slamming metal. I turned to climb, but it felt like the air was pushing against me, like walking through water. With each step up, I felt weaker, like something inside me was being pulled loose. When I finally made it back to the surface, my legs gave out. I was shaking. Everyone was yelling at me, panicked. They said I vanished. 1 second I was there, the next I was gone. They swore I had disappeared for 10 minutes. I was only on the stairs for maybe 30 seconds. We left fast. No one said a word in the car. My girlfriend wouldn't look at me. The others never talked about it again. That night, I had a dream. I was back on the staircase. I couldn't move. Something was waiting at the bottom, watching, smiling. It didn't have a face, but I knew it was smiling. I still dream about it, and every time I wake up colder than I've ever felt in my life. I haven't been back. I don't think those steps are buried. I think they're waiting. I used to work night shifts for a funeral home, mostly pickups. Sometimes I'd help load bodies into the walk-in cooler if the director was gone. It never really bothered me, until one night. There was a storm, the kind that makes the power flicker and the walls hum. I was alone, moving a body onto the middle rack. The cooler had 3 steel shelves, and the guy I brought in was fresh from a nursing home. The air inside was freezing, and the light buzzed overhead. I was halfway through adjusting the guy's tag when I heard a soft creak from above me. Thought it was just the cooler shifting from the wind. Then something touched my face. I flinched. A cold, limp hand had dropped down from the upper shelf. I looked up, and the guy on the top rack, he'd been dead for days. His arm had fallen off the edge like he was reaching for me. His fingers brushed my cheek. I backed away fast. The doorstop I had wedged under the heavy steel door slipped. The cooler door slammed shut behind me, loud, sealed. The light went out. I stood in total darkness, breathing hard. I couldn't see anything, not even my own hands. I tried my phone, no signal. I tried the door, locked tight from the outside. Then I heard movement, slow, dragging. Something scraped against metal, like a shoe on a shelf. Then another thump. I knew the racks were solid and still, but something above me was shifting. Flesh doesn't move like that. Not after days. There was a soft tapping noise, then a breath. I swear to God, I heard breathing that wasn't mine. Wet, shallow, raspy. I started yelling, fumbling for anything, knocking into carts and trays in the dark. Something cold brushed the back of my neck. The power came back after a few minutes, but it felt like hours. The light flickered back on. Everything looked the same, except the guy on the top shelf. He was lying a few inches closer to the edge than before. His eyes were open. Nobody believed me when I told them. The cameras glitched during the outage, just static. Now, whenever there's a storm, I dream I'm back in that cooler, and I never make it out. A few years back, my 2 friends and I went on one of those old jail tours. It was a freezing January afternoon. The jail hadn't been in use for decades. Women, children, even the sick used to be crammed into those cells. A lot of them didn't survive the winters. The guide was talking about overcrowding when we slipped away from the group. Just messing around. We ducked into one of the side cells, laughing like idiots. It was cold inside. The air felt heavy. The walls were covered in scratch marks, and one corner smelled like mold and old blood. One of us joked about getting locked in. We all laughed. Then the door slammed shut behind us. We didn't even hear footsteps, just the bang. We shouted, thinking one of the group was messing with us. But when we tried the door, the bolt was across. From the outside, that door couldn't lock by itself. We knew that. The guide literally said it earlier. We started banging and yelling. Nobody came. No voices. No footsteps. It was like the building swallowed the sound. My friend tried to use his phone, but there was no signal. The screen glitched and went black. The air got colder. I swear I heard something moving in the hallway. Not walking. Dragging. Slow. We stopped shouting after a while, just stood there, listening. The room felt like it was getting smaller. One of my friends was crying. The other pressed her ear to the door, then backed away and said, "There's breathing." Right outside. Eventually, after what felt like hours, someone opened the door. It wasn't the guide, just an old man in a maintenance jacket who didn't speak. He walked away before we could say anything. We ran and found the group near the entrance. The guide said nobody left the tour. No staff matched our description. When we checked the door later, the bolt was rusted in place. It shouldn't have moved. It's been nearly 10 years. None of us talk about it much. But sometimes, I still dream about that cell, the sound of breathing just on the other side of the door, and in the dream, no one ever comes.